Ukrainian forces are moving house to house in Pokrovsk, clearing specific areas of an estimated 200 to 300 Russian troops who have advanced into the city. This may be the mission assigned to the special operations teams that arrived a few days ago by helicopter. New footage released today appears to confirm their presence. Reports indicate that Ukrainian soldiers may have captured a Russian T-80 tank and used it in combat. Russian sources claim that Ukraine has launched a successful counterattack on the Dopilia salient, threatening further Russian advances in that direction. At the same time, a new fundraiser was launched to acquire drone interceptors for the 429th Unmanned Systems Regiment, Achilles. Further details are expected later. New footage released by the Ukrainian GUR states. The Tamur Special Unit of the GUR continues its operation in one of the most important logistical areas of the front, in the city of Pokrovsk. Fierce battles are ongoing with Russian occupiers. After a successful airborne operation, additional forces broke through a ground corridor and joined the GUR Special Forces, who had taken their designated positions. Combat work continues, aimed at eliminating enemy attempts to expand fire influence on logistics in the GUR's area of responsibility. Other special units of the GUR are also carrying out missions. Operational details are not disclosed for the safety of personnel. This marks the first official confirmation from Ukrainian sources that the GUR conducted the airborne operation north of Pokrovsk. Russian sources had previously claimed that the helicopter was shot down and that all troops were eliminated. The Russian response stated, "The footage captured special forces flying in helicopters, their runs on the ground after landing, and FPV drone strikes on buildings in the northwestern outskirts of the city near the landing site. Fire support for the GUR was provided by a captured T-80 tank firing from a concealed position." They also reported that the territory of an electric engine plant and a former geological exploration department came under attack earlier, with Russian FPV drones striking the Ukrainian landing force. Russian commentators concluded that there was nothing in the footage to suggest that the GUR operation achieved significant success, and that fighting in the industrial complex in the northwestern outskirts of Pokrovsk continues. The Russian narrative has shifted. Earlier claims of a destroyed helicopter and eliminated landing force have been replaced with statements that the outcome remains unclear and that combat is ongoing. Ukrainian reports emphasize that additional GUR units on the ground have linked up with the forces inserted by air, securing their corridor and continuing to engage Russian troops attempting to expand their fire control. Analysts assess that the airborne group was reinforcing another element already operating nearby, possibly forming the rear side of a larger maneuver. Russian sources maintain that Ukrainian helicopters were observed in the area, and that FPV drones targeted several buildings close to the landing site. They acknowledge that a captured Russian T-80 tank provided covering fire from a hidden position. The situation remains fluid. Fighting continues in the industrial zone on the northwestern edge of Pokrovsk. Meanwhile, President Zelensky stated, "Pokrovsk, the enemy has not achieved any success there in recent days. Between 26 and 30% of all combat along the front is occurring in that sector, and half of all guided bomb strikes are falling on the city. Our soldiers are enduring extremely difficult conditions." According to deep state map analysts, greater than enemy infiltration into the city continues through defensive lines in the south and along the rail corridor. Russian troops are being detected and destroyed in various parts of the city, expanding the gray zone of sabotage and reconnaissance activity. Video footage from the Ukrainian 79th Brigade shows clearance operations as Russian troops attempt to dig in, occupying basements and cellars. Ukrainian forces move methodically from one building to the next, eliminating pockets of resistance. Deep State map notes that concentration of fighting has increased on the eastern outskirts near the settlement of Rivne and on the northern perimeter, where Russian infantry numbers are growing. Enemy units are establishing observation posts and firing positions throughout the city. Estimates range from 200 to 300, up to 600 or 700 Russian soldiers now inside Pokrovsk, with reinforcements likely arriving daily. Ukrainian military leadership has reportedly taken direct control of the situation, deploying specialized units to clear the city. However, decisions on how to block new Russian infiltration from the south have not yet been implemented. Drone units continue constant surveillance day and night, identifying and striking enemy positions. Deep state analysts warn that while Ukrainian forces are clearing Russian troops from within the city without cutting off their supply routes, infiltration will persist. Approximately 80 to 100,000 Russian troops are concentrated in the wider operational zone stretching from Dopilya to Horlivka. Retired Russian Colonel General Leonid Ivashov commented on the situation. The advance near Pokrovsk is only a tactical success. At the operational tactical level, we have no progress, and at the strategic level, we have suffered defeats in all directions. Isolation from the international community is already a strategic defeat. Ivashov criticized the emphasis placed on Pokrovsk, calling it a limited tactical gain and not a decisive turning point. He stated that focusing on such battles while larger strategic issues remain unresolved will only prolong losses. The Dopilya sector has become the scene of a new Ukrainian counterattack. Russian channel Military Informant reported, "The enemy has launched a successful offensive on the Dopilya salient." From FPV drone footage, Ukrainian assault troops advanced southwest of Vuli and Novoskovo, cutting the road toward Svatove and attempting to split the salient into two parts. The report explained that the survival of the Russian salient now depends on maintaining control of Shakov, which is vital for resupply. Heavy fighting is underway, but neither side has secured the area completely. Ukrainian sources described the operation as deliberate and methodical. Euromaidan press noted, greater than Ukrainian forces launched a major counterattack near Dopilya, systematically eliminating Russian units and liberating villages including Kucher and Zashkiv. The operation succeeded partly because Russian officers submitted false reports, claiming their positions were stable. When Russian command realized entire pockets were collapsing, they ordered emergency mechanized counterattacks near Shakov. For 3 days, Russian armored units attempted to break through Ukrainian minefields and drone coverage. The Azov Corps reported more than 1,200 Russian casualties, 23 armored vehicles destroyed, 130 other vehicles lost, and 39 artillery systems eliminated within 1 week. Drone footage showed Russian soldiers trapped in anti-tank ditches as Ukrainian snipers targeted any movement from newly liberated tree lines. Russian attempts to rescue the trapped troops resulted in further losses. The Russian pattern of concealing battlefield losses from senior command delayed their response, allowing Ukrainian defenses to strengthen and turn every counterattack into another defeat. Fighting also continues across multiple northern sectors. President Zelensky provided an overview of current operations. At Pokrovsk, 260 to 300 Russian soldiers remain in the city. The situation is extremely difficult but stable. At Dopilya, he described conditions as challenging, confirming that Ukrainian operations are ongoing. At Kostiantynivka and Kramatorsk, the front remains unchanged. At Lyman, he stated the situation is stabilizing. Further north in Kupiansk, he announced that the timeline for clearing the city has been set. Only about 60 Russian troops remain inside, but details of the clearance date remain classified. Kupiansk has seen scattered Russian elements using pipelines and infrastructure to move covertly across open terrain. Ukrainian forces are now pushing from the west to eliminate these remnants. Russian reports claim Ukrainian units have been surrounded, while Ukrainian statements assert they have already begun clearing the city entirely. The situation remains dynamic, with both sides exchanging conflicting claims. Across the front, Ukrainian drone operators continue identifying and intercepting enemy drones, targeting supply lines and forward positions. Operations by the GUR, the 79th, 25th, and other units persist around Pokrovsk and Dopilya. Military analysts expect further escalation in both sectors as Russian forces attempt to regain momentum and Ukrainian troops aim to isolate and destroy forward Russian elements before winter sets in. The battle for Pokrovsk, the fight at Dopilya, and the operations around Kupiansk together illustrate a single truth. The war is far from over, and every street, every trench, every drone flight could decide the next chapter of this conflict.
Behind every number is a story, and behind every story, a life that truly matters. Be a voice for the voiceless, subscribe, share, and help keep the light of truth alive. with Legend Tara.